Do you believe that the Constitution grants everyone in our country the right to due process, including non-citizens?
The administration has the authority to.
Ma'am, I'm looking for a yes or no question. Yes or no. Do you believe the Constitution? Yes, ma'am. Do you,
we have
ma'am,
not conducted
reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman. Time is yours. Okay. Secretary Noem, I'm just looking for a yes or no here. Do you believe the Constitution guarantees due process to everyone in America?
Due process is exactly what this Congress lays out.
Yes or no?
It is,
okay, ma'am, I'll take that as a no.
On due process
excuse me, I'm trying to ascertain your understanding of the law as it applies to your department, and you as its leader should be able to give us a yes or no answer because judge after judge has ruled that the law is not being followed. Do you believe that the U.S. government has the authority to deport American citizens?
No, and we are not deporting U.S. citizens.
I'm so happy to hear that you do not believe that the law gives you that authority because the federal government has no authority under U.S. laws to deport any American citizen. And as I know, everyone viewing this hearing today knows that several American citizens have been deported to date.
That is
Secretary Noem, that was not a question. Secretary Noem, that oath that we both swore before taking office was to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, not the president, not a political party, the Constitution.
To now focus on U.S. citizens who were deported. In fact, 3 children so far, likely more children. One of those children with cancer who was deported without the medication necessary to address that child's cancer. Again, a U.S. citizen. The lawyers have said that they were not given, the family was not given an opportunity to make plans for the kids. And so they were deported, essentially, again, U.S. citizens. I have a question about the forms that ICE is supposed to utilize when engaging with parents who have children, the parents who are being deported and the U.S. citizen children. One of those forms is ICE Form 71-078, or the Caregiver Designation at Arrest form. Were any of the individuals who were deported, who had U.S. citizen children deported with them, were they given an opportunity to sign that form?
When these, the specific cases that you're referencing with these children, it was the parents' choice to take their children with them.
Did ICE
which it is the
follow
policy
through
of the
on the
Trump
policy?
administration to keep families together.
Ma'am, reclaiming my time. I told you at the top of this, ma'am, reclaiming my time. I said that the questions are really simple, yes or no. Was that form used in any of those cases?
I will get back to you on that specific form.
Perfect.
I don't know the number, but I do know these mothers went on the record
the second form, ma'am, reclaiming my time. Ma'am, please, ma'am, reclaiming my time. I'd like you to avoid the filibuster so I can get to all my questions, please.
Answering your questions.
So the second ICE form that I'd like to ask you about is ICE Form 71-76, which is also it's pre-removal parental interests election form. Can you get back to me on that? Were all of the parents allowed to sign that? Are the parents allowed to speak to lawyers before they're deported or to speak to their U.S. citizen spouses before they're deported?
They are given the opportunity.
Okay, so you can guarantee that every one of those parents.
We followed all the normal policies and procedures.
So they were allowed to talk to a lawyer. That's a yes.
As it is authorized.
Is that a yes? That's a yes.
Everything was handled appropriately and correctly.
But did they all get to talk to a lawyer?
What is your plan with regard to FEMA? Are you planning to eliminate FEMA? Your testimony references that you want to, quote, eliminate dysfunction of the current agency. I'm unclear. I don't know if my colleagues are clear on what you mean by dysfunction. And I'm concerned that you're causing more dysfunction within the workforce that should be preparing itself for the pending hurricane season.
Well, thank you for your question and the discussion on this topic today. President Trump has been very clear since the beginning that he believes that FEMA and its response in many, many circumstances has failed the American people, and that FEMA as it exists today should be eliminated and empowering states to respond to disasters with federal government
if you'll just,
support.
with all due respect, where is the evidence of the failure of FEMA? I don't know about everybody else on this. My state, Connecticut, was hit very, very hard with Superstorm Sandy. Every community in some way or another has been hit by that. And the FEMA on the ground, people come in, work with the families, deal with getting the funding out. Where is the evidence of the failure of FEMA?
Congresswoman, we still have claims open from Hurricane Katrina. We have fire claims that are still unpaid to people who said they were due them 7 to 8 to 10 years old. They have never been paid by FEMA. So one of the worst things that the federal government can do is to stand up in front of the American public and say, we will be there, we will walk alongside you in the most horrible time of your life, and then never follow through on it.
Well, that's
what
not-
the president has said is he's sick and tired of federal agencies that pick and choose who wins and who loses. He wants to make sure that the federal government's commitment, when it makes a commitment, that it follows through. So he's going to empower states.
The federal government is
local-
abdicating its commitment to the American people who find
It did
themselves.
certainly under Joe Biden's administration.
No,
But
let's-
now
let's-
President
let-
Trump's
let-
going to make.
Now I want to focus on CISA for a moment. America is under constant and growing threat from cyber criminals and foreign adversaries, as we're still seeing with Salt Typhoon. Last week you said we should, quote, just wait for the president's grand cyber plan. But you have not waited to erode the department's cyber defense capabilities by removing resources and personnel from CISA and other components. Meanwhile, bad actors are burrowing further into the critical infrastructure of this country. On what date can we expect to receive the president's cyber plan? And why are you moving forward now with workforce reductions and other changes to relevant DHS components without it?
CISA's mission is to hunt and harden and to work with our state and local entities on critical infrastructure. So to support cybersecurity infiltrations that would happen from enemies and bad actors when it comes to electrical grids, water systems, support those states, those small and medium-sized businesses that can't afford that kind of defense system themselves, and to go and walk alongside of them. I think one of the most alarming things that I heard when I was first nominated for this position, but before I was sworn in, I got briefings from CISA and from the leadership team and the people that were there. And one of the things that they shared with me was that they were aware of Salt Typhoon and Volt Typhoon, but they didn't know necessarily how they had happened yet or how to stop them into the future. That was alarming to me. It was alarming to me that we had the nation's top leading cybersecurity agency that didn't know how to stop the PRC and our enemies from coming in and hacking into our systems. And if we think a pandemic was scary, wait until the PRC in China comes in and shuts down our electricity.
Obviously.
And
So
our
when are we
water.
getting
So
the president's cyber plan?
that is what CISA is focusing on, is making sure that we're approaching cybersecurity from the importance that it is.
I had a direct
All we've-
question.
Yes.
Do you know when the president's cyber plan will be released?
It will be coming out shortly, and that is the president's prerogative.
Okay.
I have been
Thank you.
advising him on what
Thank
that
you.
will look like. and
Despite the
when
growing
we will
cyber
get it.
threats, your budget cuts nearly $500 million from the main agency charged with protecting our federal networks and so much more. So if you are so outraged by the threat of the PRC and our federal networks, why are you cutting $500 million? When you recently spoke at the RSA conference, you said that we needed to put CISA, quote, back on mission. But let's be clear, that mission is designated for you. We in the Congress told you in the department and CISA how to execute on that mission. And you all have been moving money away from CISA, and that does not help achieve that mission.
Let me ask about sanctuary jurisdictions. I believe state-local partnerships truly are important for the agents and the officers at DHS to execute their mission. How have sanctuary jurisdictions or state or municipal governments hindered the agency's mission to protect the homeland?
Well, I would say every day it is thwarting our efforts to be able to go out and help make our communities safe and secure. There have been times where we've gone out and targeted bad actors and criminals in communities that are guilty of rape, murder, violence, domestic abuse, drug trafficking, human trafficking. And when we've gone in to do those operations, we have not had the backup of local law enforcement. We've not able to have leaders that have walked alongside of us in support of securing their communities and been there for ICE agents that are out there putting their lives on the line to help secure and get these bad criminals off their streets. And those individuals are protecting them with their decisions, their political rhetoric. They're also filing lawsuits against us and the authorities that we're exercising to try to jam us up in court rather than giving us the opportunity to go out there and really follow through on what our commitment has been to this country. So the sanctuary jurisdictions have been fighting this administration in trying to do what the American people asked President Trump to do in November, and that was to make their communities safe again. I will tell you that when I've been out on the front lines with many of these agents, when they've been doing operations in the early morning sweeping up criminals, they are doing the hard work, and many times in partnership with local law enforcement in cities. So we appreciate that partnership and where we can get it. In sanctuary cities, it becomes much more of an operation that has to have more people. We have to commit more ICE agents, more federal officers there because the local community has not, and the leadership there has not been supportive. And then also, I would say it makes it more dangerous. We have seen violence against our ICE officers go up over 300%. And I think that's because of the rhetoric out there by local mayors and governors who have, put out misinformation and perpetuated lies about law enforcement and what they're trying to do to help communities. I remember the morning I was in New York City, we were conducting ICE operations on known criminals that were guilty of violent abuses and breaking the law. We had community members that were walking by on the street that were taking their kids to school, and when they would walk by, they would say, "Thank you. Thank you for being here."
That says
Yet
a
their
lot.
leadership
That says a lot.
was not there to support and back up our operations. So I would ask people in these communities to challenge their mayors, challenge their governors to come to the table and to help us, because I don't know of anybody who wanted to raise their kids in a community that was filled with criminals, where it wasn't safe to go out at night and where they couldn't walk their kids to school and not have to worry about if they were going to get there safely.
Thank you.